watching Heir to the Empire sitting there and me having this realization, wait, like there's more story? Like, because it's the 90s, right? No internet. You didn't realize this. I'm like, what? Like, no one in the playground was talking about it. And so I got this thing and I sat in the way back of this car because, back then kids didn't have seatbelts or like, just sat in the way back and spent 6 hours reading Heir to the Empire.
Reading the book in the trunk.
And I read it again when I was doing my chronological read through. So that was probably in the mid-aughts, and then listened to it again.
Hey, Adam, can I stop you right there?
Please.
And if you're watching this live, I'm so sorry. But I didn't press record till halfway through your answer. So we're going to just restart the episode right now. I can tag the music on myself afterwards. So I'm just going to go, hey, welcome to Cantina Chronicles. This is our first episode. So great to talk to y'all. We're right here doing our thing, and we're going to be covering Heir to the Empire. Because we're gearing up for Ahsoka, and that's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to talk about a lot of things. Definitely excited about this whole Thrawn trilogy, Legends trilogy, because let's just say I never read it. I think I did, but I don't recall any of it. My mind did not have frame of reference for it, so it's all fresh. But I want to talk about Rebels. I want to talk about Bad Batch. I want to talk about Clone Wars. We'll either pepper that in. I think we're going to do 3 weeks with 3 books, and then the week before Ahsoka, we'll really do a mishmash of everything, and maybe get a guest speaker in here if we can.
Yeah. And I know Ben and I are doing a Rebels rewatch, so we'll probably jump in with some of that as we go.
I know. Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about Rebels.
And the only reason I'm not taking part in this rewatch is because I've rewatched this series 3 times.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got it, guys. If there's something that stands out that I don't remember, like please inform me before we record. But,
we're not shaming you, Grant. Yeah. This is only my second time rewatching. Like only my second time watching it through. So that's why I'm really glad I'm doing this, because boy, I forgot how amazing of a series that is.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just
I probably will watch a few episodes and just check back in. So I love that series.
Yeah. I think maybe we'll do a formal review of it the week before Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Or the week of Ahsoka, really, before we covered the first episode of that series. But I'm sure I'll pepper in some stuff because I took copious notes. This is my 3rd time watching Rebels. And I had the benefit of sort of having things to look for. And I have to say, like, each time I watch it, I like it more and more and notice different things. I mean, it's a true Star Wars. It's like, it's up there with every other feature film for me. And I know it is for a lot of people too. And, I adore all the characters. And it's a really, like, there's no fat on that bone. It's just like, it's a lot of meaty, exciting things. And even after like Andor, right, which like raised the bar for so many awesome things, for Star Wars in a lot of great ways, it holds up with that for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It not only does it cover the birth of the rebellion as we know it, but it also, like, the characters are super deep. Like, I love Ezra, I love Kanan, I love Hera, I love Sabine, like Ahsoka. There's time. Dave Filoni gives time to every character and fleshes them out so wonderfully in the series that when you watch it, you're rewarded. Each season, there's real developments for each character, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I wonder if it's more freeing as a Star Wars writer to be able to, like, just create the whole Star Wars universe with, like, I mean, he brought in like episode 3 has Lando Calrissian in it, right? Like a lot of cameos, but like the whole primary cadre ensemble cast, like making all of those characters from whole cloth. I wonder if that's more liberating than having to sort of like pepper in people, because it was just brilliant. Like all the characters were so original.
And the big name characters he does pepper into the storyline makes perfect sense. Each time you see them, it's like a perfect scenario in which that character would appear. Yeah.
For the most part, I feel like sometimes when you have those cameos, it to me, I'm almost like, I get back to the new characters. Like I love Lando and Princess Leia, but those 2 episodes I felt were just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, it feels like guest star, and I'm like, no, let's get to ours. But like, I think you're right, Ben. This idea of like creating these characters from whole cloth, controlling their fate, allows you to do fun and amazing things with them. Like we'll talk more. I was gonna say spoiler, but this thing's forever. But like Kanan getting blinded, I forgot that happened And
Yeah.
and when that happened, I was just like, oh my god, that's right. Like that's such an amazing moment, right? In that series,
It's
it
such a
changes everything.
it's a gut punch, and then I mean he
Yeah.
bounces back in an episode, and suddenly it's like it doesn't matter. You can see just fine. Don't worry
It's
about
also
it.
just perfect
Yeah.
for a Jedi character.
Right.
Minded, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. The
you
blind
guys are making me want to rewatch the series for the
telling you.
first time.
dude. I did it in a week.
Thanks, guys.
I watched it in
Yeah.
a week. Granted, I had
you.
COVID, so it was easier, but I just like chewed through the whole thing, and I enjoyed
You
every
might be
second.
the last person to get COVID. That's
I
quite an
get
accomplishment.
2 years in a row on my birthday. That's
Oh man,
Oh
happy
my
birthday!
goodness.
suck love.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I don't.
Oh.
And no, luckily, all the people I was with didn't get it, including my wife.
That's why we had. That's why you were so urgent about starting the Cantina Chronicles. You were like, guys, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I need to be in the
got a
safety
shelf
of
full
the
of-
bar.
Of ale, I'm ready.
Yeah, I know. I'm stoked to be here. But yeah. So, anyways, I think we have our eye on Ahsoka, even though I've been on radio blackout on all the on all the recent trailers. I think I saw the first 2 teasers. I think we covered one in the last week of Core World News.
Yeah.
And then but I haven't. I'm seeing things online where I'm like, wait, is that Sabine Wren with an ignited lightsaber?
It's like
I'm
Sabine. Yeah.
I'm like,
You've
what?
seen that stuff.
And people
Yeah,
are saying
I mean-
they heard Ezra talk, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, so spoiler wall up.
Yeah.
We might be talking about some of the imagery in the Ahsoka trailer as we go on here. Ben, I
Just tell me
haven't
earmuffs, and I'll
checked
just be
those
like,
out. But yeah, we'll tell you earmuffs. But we did cover it, I think, on our final episodes of
A
the
little bit.
prior podcast.
Yeah.
Which we
I also
talked
think
about
you're-
Sabine, getting a
Sabine
lightsaber, calling Ahsoka master.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm
and I think
so
Ben's-
excited. Like, I'm pumped.
I-
Like this seems like an incredible quest. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I think you should just watch the trailer because I think what you're hearing online is making you feel like it's more of a spoiler than what's actually there. Because I want to explain to you the Ezra thing.
But then Adam also raised a really fun point, and he said when we were last talking, and he said, what if Sabine is simply just making up for the Force with all this sort of Mando tech, and just fight twice as fast as Din Djarin and some elite Mandos we've seen.
I just finished the arc where she learns to use the darksaber and basically gets trained as a Jedi with a lightsaber. She knows how to wield a lightsaber.
Yeah.
That's not weird.
Yeah,
for her.
that's not a weird
Yeah.
thing. I mean, she used the dark saber and she used it well. And
Yeah.
but I think, and I mean, one of those big things is Ven Rao, the Mandalorian protector from the the Protectorate. It was like, just use your Mando things to compensate for not having the Force, and that flipped the switch for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing. I mean, you talk about the Mandalorians. That's going to be a huge arc because she's a huge player in the resurgence of Mandalore. I mean, Mandalore is totally in a disarray in the Rebels series until she goes home and reignites her clan and galvanizes the clans and then just hands it off to Bo-Katan, and we know how that worked out.
Well, yeah,
You're
it
raising
puts
a
it in the crosshairs of the Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also raising another really fun idea here, which is Filoni making Heir to the Empire but just throwing the darksaber into the mix? Is that kind of what we might get in these upcoming, Ahsoka series and the planned Mando film, things like that?
Yeah, I already have a theory. Should we start out early with the theory?
I mean, no, we'll end with theories, so stay tuned for theories at the end.
I'm getting
conflicted.
conflicted.
There's no more rules, Grant.
All right, so no more rules. Here's my new theory. By the way, for new listeners, Adam's theories have proved out 0 times. So enjoy this. But my theory is that Ahsoka and everything else in the Mandoverse on TV is preamble to Heir to the Empire. I think this all fits in prior to what Heir to the Empire is, and his movie is going to be a retelling, not a strict retelling, but recanonization of Heir to the Empire, which I also think is how we're going to get the money to have a lot of de-aged Luke in that. I think that Mandoverse thing is going to be a Luke.
It has to, right.
Film.
So you bring in fully CG deep fake Luke in the Mando series.
Yeah.
Why? It's a big question among fans. Why? Why bring him into this
Tested that
storyline? Why
technology
bring
out.
Grogu? Well, guess what? If Luke actually proceeds in the storyline that's taking place in the timeline as of right now, compared to the Heir to the Empire books, he is eventually going. And the Wayland facility that is shown in Bad Batch,
Yeah.
it is all being set up.
Yes, all the pieces are there.
the Luke moment where you're going to see another deep fake Luke, but it's going to be evil Luke, and that's like that we might get to that confrontation at some point. I don't know if that's the best idea. That's where I'll kind of throw that hot take in there. I don't know if that's a great idea. I think
will
that's a little
say,
too much fan service and almost
Yeah.
too much CG nightmare fuel that like I just and it has to hit it has to really do a good job of nailing the feeling you got when you first read that encounter in the books, but which is going to be hard to you honestly can't. Like you basically have to subvert everything in the Heir to the Empire trilogy to make a good movie and a good series at this point. Like
which
I don't
he might
the books.
do.
I don't really.
No, and I wonder.
Not at all. Yeah. You can do the Nogri. You can do some clones, some Wayland stuff. You can there's stuff you can do Sabaoth in the form of these other Jedi, whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. That stuff can work, but I feel like, wow, if they really build to that moment, that's so. That's your theory, Adam. We're gonna get it. That's amazing.
That's my theory.
Yeah,
I am ready to be wrong.
So, I mean, I forget if we've said this now because we introduced this podcast twice, but we are this week we're trying to focus on the book Heir to the Empire. The first.
That was a masterful segue, I thought, with the Darksaber being launched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, the Darksaber is broken as of right now and destroyed. I don't know if they'll bring it back.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying we're Heir to the Empire. I can't wait. Like I've been waiting to cover this all week. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm kind of. So this is essentially the first time I've read it. And what you're talking about with the Luke stuff, I've only heard from you, so I don't really know how.
That's the final book.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead of that a little bit. That'll be in 2 weeks from now.
We'll be there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. But I could already, I've heard it. But yes, Wayland and Mount Tantus is on Wayland, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
correct.
and we did get that in this book.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a fantastic. I mean, so this is Timothyzahn, right? Like, I mean,
correct.
And I kind of like underestimated how amazing that would be. Because I mean, I've loved, I've read 3 trilogies now of him in canon. We reviewed that with Core World News, but I loved all of them. But this was like a different, like this was God tier Zahn because he could actually manipulate original trilogy characters in the stories. Yeah. And I thought he wrote them amazingly well, but he brought those like all those like beautiful tactics and things like the military naval tactics that I love from the canon books into this. And there's like so much beautiful detail, so much great conversation. It still feels like the characters, it's just they're maybe a little smarter and more articulate. It's not often you have like, a 15-minute conversation between Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, like that in the films, that doesn't happen. It's like done in a couple lines and they're out, right? But this is like they get to have these extensive conversations and go on these adventures. And, I was like, oh, now I get why people adore this series because it's just so artful. And essentially, you could slide everything from this book right into canon, except for the fact that Leia is pregnant with twins.
Right.
Which maybe she thinks she's pregnant with twins in this, you don't know. And then it's like, oh no, it was just Ben. But yeah, everything else could have totally have happened. And the Nogri have been established in Rebels. And they play a large part in it. It just, Sabaoth, this dark Jedi clone that's lurking. And what he wants, his meanings, he's just sort of introduced. And then of course, marajade. But I mean, from the story, like I never really know Marajade's like backstory, how she ran into Luke, but really powerful scene where Luke goes back to Dagobah and has another Force vision, and it's like an alternate past about him at that jumping, into the Sarlacc pit, but except his lightsaber doesn't get to his hand because Marajade steals it, and then he's just like dead in the water. Which is a pretty fun reimagining of that scene. I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating. And I really like Marajade's character is, it's intoxicating. She's just like such a cool character and such a cool like idea.
Yeah. There are so many logical extensions of the storyline in this trilogy that I just absolutely adore. Like it feels super organic, and like you said, Ben, it's like 6 lanes of road instead of 2. Like Zahn gets to write so many characters in this book, and like love each dynamic that you come across, and there's so many. And it doesn't feel like he's just writing Thrawn, or he's writing Thrawn and Anakin, or Thrawn, and he's just sharing a dual protagonist type story. It feels like he's got so many protagonists, and he roots for all of them, and he loves writing each one, and you feel it. And yeah, I love the Marajade character. I feel like she is such a fun rival for Luke, and being this character that's basically been upset by the canon and the narrative thus far, the Luke killing the Emperor, and all that stuff, like that to me, that's so fun. That's such a great idea. It's just to have that. A Talon Card is such a fun character to put in the mix too with her. And I was like, this is so fun. Like they're coming into the story in a very believable way, which I thought was really definitely handled. And Zahn again, like that's why Filoni loves this stuff. That's why Lucasfilm sees that this is 10 years of fandom, right? This is a decade's worth of fandom right here. Like people loved this stuff. It makes sense. The Leia stuff. I think all my notes from that first book, Heir to the Empire, is about Leia. I think Zahn just creates all this new dimension, like these new dimensions for the character. And I love the Nogri stuff. Like I love I love that it's now Leia's reckoning with the Vader bloodline, like in this book, and it's not bloodline and so on the nose and you're Vader's daughter, all this stuff. It's more of like she's reckoning with the fact of what Luke has told her, of what she's now a Jedi, what she's now feeling, what she's now understanding about herself, and then reflected in these new people that she meets, the Nogri, the new culture,
that revere her for it, and she's trying to leverage it.
I love that.
So I'm gonna spoiler it for old EU. I just finished my reread, and the Nogri are there to stay. This is what I love about this is that Thrawn introduced us. This is Heir to the Empire is the first old canon book that took place post Episode 6. There are some other novels that came before. This is the first one that actually Lucasfilm said, "Yep, we're going to continue the story of Luke, Leia, and Han, and everyone else." And so in that, you get Marajade introduced, who is, throughout everything, the Nogri are following Leia and are her bodyguards for the remainder of the EU.
Oh my gosh.
So you have Nogri who keep calling her Lady Vader up until she's like 70.
It's so cool.
Like it's amazing.
Lady Vader is just amazing title. It's not great publicity, but it's
a great title.
Title.
It's a nice one to have in your back pocket if you need it.
Yeah, and she's always correcting it. Like she's never like, okay, cool. She's like, no, stop calling me that, please.
Stop calling me that, please. That is great to know. And for Tracy, I don't know. We haven't created another entity that, but if Nogri isn't ringing any bells, but you watched Rebels, Rook, the dark assassin that follows.
Probably Grogu probably doesn't know, right? We have to tell Grogu.
Tell Grogu. He's learning about all this. All right, Grogu.
Yeah. You're a Grogu.
So, if you watch Rebels, it's the dark assassin that can't be killed. Rook is a Nogri. And they're kind of fascinating. But when that happened, I was like, whoa, that blew me away. I didn't, of all the things people talked about the series, no one ever mentioned the Nogri's relationship to Leia. And you can see the wheels turning.
It's so cool.
They're just like, oh my gosh, you are the daughter of Vader. And they're like, you're our hero. And that's really cool. So that's good to know that she will seal that alliance. But it seemed like that's where it was going because she's a diplomat. But I loved there was like this parallel storytelling between Luke and Leia. And they were both like, Luke was like, stranded in space and then captured and then without the Force, which is a great little twist that they introduced early. And it was like 2 chapters back to back and Card has him captured and all that. And he's like, or he's like, if you could kill me or you could let me go. He's like, or you could just put me back in space in my stranded starfighter and I'll take my chances with the other bounty hunters hunting me. He's like, I just need a chance. And then Leia, right where I am, which is just this first book, she's like thinking about going to the Nogri's homeworld alone. And she's like, I just need a chance. I just need a chance to make this right. And I just thought that was a really interesting parallel. They're like, I'm a Jedi, just give me a shot, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll do my best, and maybe it'll work out. And I think
I loved Leia's running around with a lightsaber in these books.
Yeah.
Like it's all I ever wanted was basically the promises of Return of the Jedi, which is that Luke's going to bring Leia aboard and be a Jedi and understand, you know, their relation to Vader and all this kind of stuff. Like I feel like Zahn crafted such a wonderful continuation of the tale. So I really respect these books in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I love the way it rounded out, because I didn't know. I'm like, it's weird. Another one of the differences between this Legends story and the canon Thrawn is that Legends Thrawn is a Black Hat character pretty fully, but it's like I've been cheering for him. He's been the protagonist for the 3 canon series pretty much, and not so much in Rebels, but he's not like murdering his own like subordinates. Exactly. Outright for failure, which happens in this book. And I think that at a certain point they need Thrawn to sort of pick sides. I mean, he's an antagonist in Rebels, but I want to know how bad this dude really is.
I think Thrawn recruiting Sabaoth is like the major thing you take away from this book. You're like, oh, he recruits this guy who just needs Luke to come to him and is like feeling Luke from across the galaxy. And like, I would love to talk about this Joruus Sabaoth character because I feel like that might be the secret sauce they're also sprinkling into the new canon stories that we're getting in a fun way, which is a Jedi now feeling Luke, and a Jedi to rival Luke, a Jedi to rival Luke and Leia, the Jedi that are rising in the galaxy. Like I imagine that's in the mix, and that's what we've seen in some of the trailers and for Ahsoka and things like that. So I'm hopeful to see stuff like that.
Definitely. And for Grogu, Joruus Sabaoth was the guardian of Mount Tantus, and was plucked out of there by Thrawn, and is just another chess piece in his thing. But he's a dark Jedi. He's a Jedi that's just embraced the dark side. He's not a Sith. He's just like full dark side Jedi, former Jedi. And that's super fun. And obviously, like, I have seen enough Ahsoka trailers to see a couple Jedi wielding red lightsabers. And we had mentioned before that could be that we could get that Sabaoth character or times 2.
Let me make a point. So I don't know if you picked up in this novel. First of all, you know, Timothyzahn coined the term Dark Jedi. First time Dark Jedi ever used was by Timothyzahn in this book.
In these books, because there was Shatterpoint, which wasn't Zahn ? Adam. And then but that was the only, that was like the first book of the expanded universe, right? And then this trilogy happened.
No, wait. So no, Shatterpoint is in.
I'm sorry, not Shatterpoint.
Later on.
Outbound Flight.
Outbound Flight. No, so Outbound Flight is like it's a
prequel to this,
but written way after this. Yeah, I mean the first EU book is Crystal of the Mind's Eye, which was
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Thank you, Grant. And then there's the there's 2 Han Solo trilogies and a Lando Calrissian trilogy and a couple other random ones, but this is the first one where they're like, we are publishing. It's kind of similar to what happened with the new EU. It's the first one where like Lucasfilm is like, we are now publishing novels. Lucas is probably never going to make episodes 7, 8, and 9, so we're just doing this now. And Lucas is like, fine. You can do this, you can't do this. He kind of oversaw, you can do this and this, you can't do that. You can't kill this character. The reason why Chewbacca dies is because he left Chewbacca off the list of characters you can't kill. Boy.
He just assumed that was a given. He's like, you're going to go ahead and kill Chewbacca?
So he's there. So all the authors are like, we're killing Chewbacca much later. So he coined a lot of the things that we're familiar with. He coined Dark Jedi. There is a mention in this book because Zahn is also really good at lore drops like they did in the thing where Luke mentions encountering a dark Jedi. I have been, for the past 2 days, trying to figure out if that is a reference to any other thing in any EU, and it's not. I cannot find that story being told anywhere. So that is an untold story, right, of Luke encountering a dark Jedi post Episode 6, pre-Heir to the Empire in the old EU.
But wait, but that
never
was
told.
Dropped into Heir to the Empire, was he was like, oh, I did encounter a dark Jedi.
Yeah, remember we encountered that dark Jedi. He says something like that. Luke says that. which we never know what that is. So my new theory, which fits into my other theory, is that we're going to see this Dark Jedi encounter in Ahsoka, but it's going to be told from Ahsoka's perspective instead of Luke's perspective. That they're kind of that Filoni saw this opening, right? Which is why this is taking place, because the Heir to the Empire takes place right around the same time as the Mandoverse, so there's theoretically could push it a couple years and have Thrawn's ascendancy to the throne, basically, which we don't see in any other thing, other than now they're kind of retelling a little bit in new media.
And,
anyway,
right, and Mandalorian, right? It's weird that the synergy between all these things is so tight. But that's the other thing, like Pelion.
So you're
Pelion
saying, you're saying that Luke says he's encountered a Dark Jedi before Sabaoth and before.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not Marajade.
No, he hasn't met Marajade.
No, because
yet.
he only meets Marajade for the first time in this book.
Okay, and so it's before all those moments. Okay, so
it's early in this book. I would
love to know where it happens in the book, just given that Marajade.
Because it was
you guys
after
keep
he
talking.
had I think it was on Bafish or they have the great planet names and names in general in this. They're just like they're insane. But
Wayland though, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's when Sabaoth like force contacts him during a space battle, and he's wondering who that could be. And he's like, well, it could be a Dark Jedi like the one I saw, but maybe he's cool. And obviously, Luke's gonna go find him because he can't help himself.
Okay, well, that's great. So then maybe Filoni is seizing this ground to be like, hey, how about some Dark Jedi? I love that.
Yeah,
I think
I'm feeling very positive.
It is
that there's going to be a lot of this book in the upcoming series and ultimately the novel that we get. But
these books also give us like Bothans, which I think are one of the biggest missed opportunity of just Star Wars in general. Like I guess Disney acquired Star Wars. I'm like, you acquired Bothans, you know that, right?
Yeah, you can use them.
Like, just letting you know.
We haven't even seen.
They're right there.
I think
they're right there.
One Bothan head in a background of something, maybe.
I don't think so. Because I think I have the visual dictionary, and I think that character's not a Bothan, sadly.
And we've never even seen it in animation. You know,
it's kind of upsetting, honestly.
It's a curious omission
because they're like the spy intelligence network. They feel like this I don't know, this hyper militarized spy network in the galaxy that like patrol their own space and have never needed anyone's assistance. And I love that there's a perimeter of space in which there's like this one culture that's basically survived and has not been able to been thwarted by the empire and has also been able to strike back and sort of like deal intelligence in the background to bring down the Death Star. Like to me, it's like, where are the Bothans?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up. You're right.
That's all I gotta say.
I mean, if that's how they're defined and they're like completely self-sufficient, it makes sense why they haven't been, running around. But it's like Rhodians, Twi'leks, Ithorians, Aqualish.
I think the last time we talked
we see them over and over and over and over again, but it's like never a Bothan, and they're like mentioned in the OT. Like that seems like a crazy.
Well, it's like the episode 7 dev team were like Abednettos, right?
Yeah,
coolest dudes ever. I was like, okay, well, show me like the planet, show me what's they're about, like bring them into the story in some fun way. They're like, no, just like the design though, and like it looks cool, right? And I'm like, well, let's build a history, let's build a story here with, and that's why I love Zahn so much, is because he actually lets the story hang on Akbar and hang on like what Bothan, like the story hangs on fun new cultures from around the galaxy, like new aliens. I don't know, to me that's so brave and so fun and such new territory that it almost feels like, why aren't we doing this? I think James Gunn would make a great Star Wars film because I feel like he would really highlight these characters. And it's kind of upsetting to see so many Star Wars stories told where it's just, let's get the actors on screen for as long as possible and do Shakespeare. And I like that too. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just like when you read these books and what Zahn does, you're like, oh, like Chewie and Raru, like, are you kidding me? Like, this is so cool. Like,
you get when you start delving into these like cultures that can be anything in the entire world, and you build like the whole cultural network that exists on its own planet, it makes the galaxy feel larger. And, you know, it makes it feel infinite because you're just like, oh my God, like everyone has their own culture and there's thousands of planets and systems that have their own like cultures and species on them. And that's the stuff I want to see. Man.
It's funny because The Last Jedi does a wonderful thing with the caretakers where it kind of shows like a festival they're having and all this sort of stuff, but they cut it. It's on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good instinct by Rian Johnson, though. I think like getting that extra stuff, building out the culture of whichever aliens you're hanging out with in the film. I think it's just such a smart instinct.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
All right, I must have made this whole thing up. I can't find it anywhere.
No, you probably didn't make it up. I'm just wondering because
I remember
I think meets Luke, and then
Yeah.
Sabaoth is a dark Jedi. I think Luke takes.
Did you do like a word search for Dark Jedi in your like Kindle?
Yeah, and I'm not finding it because I'm finding all
sure
the fast stuff and other stuff. So I think I appreciate it, Grant. It's very kind of you, but I think I got my wires twisted.
I do kind of remember seeing it too. I think it might.
All
but
right.
it was one sentence in one thing, and you probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that
That's
the
all right.
Balin skull are the. I'm hoping the Jedi we've seen in the Ahsoka trailer are. I was hoping. I think they say something in the most recent trailer. We won't spoil here, but it sort of alludes to like exactly who they are. But and I think it's just way more Occam's razor than any of us are sort of theorizing. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, some Corellian ale
Nice.
entering the scene.
Yeah.
I love it.
Moving on to a hair razor
I
for the
love it.
Wookiees. That one's for Saufiro, the one that ate it. I forget his name now.
Oh yeah.
You know where else we haven't seen Bothans?
Where?
Comic books. Right?
Oh, we have. There have been a few. I am a big Dark Horse collector.
I know,
so
but I
I've
mean,
got-
in canon.
No,
Canon.
I think new.
I don't.
Yeah,
they're
well,
all
they're
over
they're
oldeu.
not there for sure.
That's. I mean, that's what I mean. Just like just from like a new canon's point of view, still no Bothans. Like, I can't believe in the. You know, in like the Star Wars main run, we haven't seen one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The one thing that like Andor was a 10 out of 10 for me as just the filmmaker, film critic, enthusiast. I absolutely loved it, and but all I have to say is that I hope Bothan's come into play at some point because it's just like if we're talking about the early rebel insurgents, I feel like the Bothans will be among them and sort of help drive it forward and help build their funds and help it, right? Because they hate the Empire, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, so we don't see the many Bothans died happens. That's a weird sticker in my arm. For the second Death Star, that's allegedly, even though we know from the comics might have retconned that a little bit. At least the first idea that there was a second Death Star came from a couple of humanoids that used to work there, but it was the quote in Return of the Jedi from Mon Mothma is many Bothans died to get us these plans. So they could have joined after the first Death Star exploded, but yeah, you're right. It just makes sense.
The story I want though is like, okay, the Mon Cala give that rebellion like cruisers and sort of like the vessels to fight in the war. I almost just want the Bothans to give the rebellion its tactics. Like I almost want the Bothans to be like the ground level species that hates the Empire and sort of is like, oh, this is beginning. Let us help in any way we can, and you're going to see how we run missions. You're going to see how we handle our information and whisper networks. It's way better than Luthen Rail's system. It's like we move through Bathawi and we kill transmissions, and then we send the transmissions out again. Like they have better ways of hiding information from the Empire. That's sort of what I'm hoping.
Which is what we had in the old EU. And this is why I think it's so vitally important, right? Because the Empire is distinguished by the fact that they are a speciest, apart from thrawn, a speciest, which that's why thrawn throws me every time. I'm like, I still do not buy that there would be a non-human in any area of power. But anyway,
it just shows off why
let me
I love that.
Yeah, he's not like he's the exception that proves the rule, right? So here's the thing. So that's what the Empire is known for, right? So you need to counter that with the Rebel Alliance and the New Republic, which is, I love this grant that you have. So the humans are there, but you also get the Mon Calamari, who have the superior ability to craft weapons of war. You have the Bothans, who have the brain power or the tactical skill. That this is why the Rebel Alliance succeeded, because they took the strengths from all the different species together to be like, that's the story. I want to do one other thing. We are not making up the fact that Bothans are ignored in the new EU, because I just went on Wikipedia. They have had one appearance in all new EU, which is just Bloodlines. It's the only time they appeared. They're mentioned in several other things. Only one appearance.
It's been a long time since I've read Bloodlines.
That's insane.
It's insane. And it's in a book.
That's
it's
crazy.
An outrage.
And so that's another storyline in here that's like crux, but like we don't get too much of it. But there's like a civil war brewing between Akbar and Fela, I think is the guy's name, who is a Bothan.
And for listeners, a Bothan is basically like a werewolf mixed with a weasel or something. Like I can't really describe what it looks like. It's just a fun looking
and white-ish with whiskers, sort of.
But it looks cool. Like it's a cool looking design.
It's almost like a tall, hairy Abnedo. Right?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's such a cool design and it's such a win. Like everything about it is a win. Especially any scene in which a Bothan's like jumping around a hallway shooting a blaster, like that's a win. Like I can tell you right now, everything about this species is a win, and I hope we see them in Andor. I hope Tony Gilroy's understands that everything about Andor is incredible, except the backgrounds just sometimes don't have the diversity that you kind of need in a Star Wars story. And I hope the next season is like, oh, there's a Twi'lek among those people. Oh, there's a Rodian over there. Like whatever. Like I hope there's a little bit more of that peppering happening, but I also hope a major alien character comes to the center of the story in a really fun, believable way. That I know he's obviously just incredible writing. So
which he's acknowledged.
And he's
right?
acknowledged.
I think we've read reports where in interviews he's acknowledged.
But Tony Gilroy handling a Bothan's dialogue is my dream come true.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that on this pod
amazing.
right now. It's like my dream, honestly.
Yeah. Maybe they could do a follow-up, because I think it makes a lot of sense, like you're saying, like obviously during Rogue One, the whole and what's going to happen in Andor, the whole like Alliance spy network is decimated.
I think we should just call the episode Tony Gilroy writes a Bothan in all caps, just to manifest it,
to make it happen.
Like, honestly, I just like if that could be the title of this, that would make me very happy, because it might just hit internet, hit people's infonets in the right way.
Yeah.
Should every title of our episode be a call to action?
Man,
a drunken call to action. I'm sure that
we're talking Heir to the Empire here. I'm just happy that there's Bothans in Heir to the Empire and in the trilogy altogether.
Yeah. It's too bad. I mean,
I will. Speaking, we started this talk about Akbar a little bit, right? And like, I know so many complaints about like short shrift that Akbar gets in the sequel trilogy, which is fair. But like, if you've read the old EU, he doesn't fare much better in the old EU. Like he's kind of like they keep talking about how he's just like he sucks at his like people skills. Like that's his main thing, is he just sucks at it, and he has too many kids. He sucks at it and is too distracted by his kids.
Well, if you had that chair,
am I Akbar?
I would never leave that chair, honestly.
I think I'm Akbar. I'm stressed by my kid, and I don't have the best people skills. Oh no.
Wait, I figured. So I read Heir to the Empire 6 months ago. Everything's a little fuzzy right now.
Grant was so psyched about it. We're like, just calm down.
Yeah, I was psyched about it a long time ago, and you guys were like, "Guys, you're like, Grant, we have like 7 months.
It's gonna be a while.
Calm down." Lots of. But he has kids in the books here. I forget if he has. He has.
He has like a ton of.
He has a ton of them. Yeah, he's a bunch
because they're hatchlings. I think he has like dozens upon dozens.
Right, and one becomes king, right? In canon. Aftab, yes.
Aftab.
No. That's
I'm
talking about
canon.
Yeah, and
we talk about this though.
He gets like legit screen time in episode 9. I don't think Aftab is not. Yeah, actually,
and he gets a whole arc in Clone Wars. I think.
Yeah. And I think maybe in one of the comics, right? Because there's the Vader on.
Wait, it is just
on
absolutely
Mancala.
wild that Akbar dies unceremoniously. in the sequels.
That
It's not even gritty action scene in which he dies unceremoniously makes perfect sense. It's like, what?
yeah.
It's like,
No, it's
Well,
a monster head
here's the
scratcher.
thing. Exactly. I don't mind that, like, because I don't mind that they killed him off that way in terms of this, like, the horrors of war, and like it's horrible how quickly just people blink out in these things, but then make it clear
Yeah.
that happened, because I
It was
literally
a
exited
line.
that
It was
movie and
like,
went,
the whole crew, including General Akbar, died.
yeah, and I'm like, he did. I'm like,
But-
you should see him clearly, like linger on him getting
I
sucked
would
out
love his
into the
eyes
cold void.
widening and like Leia's looking away,
Yes.
he's looking at it.
He just
like,
sort of salutes
I would
on the
love
way out.
that. Just a kind of like there goes Akbar. I don't know, like something where it's just noticeably hero shot of his his demise, which is like
they really.
just tragic.
He and Leia like seeing each other.
I think you see
like
just like
making
frozen
direct eye
corpse
contact.
like,
I don't
floating
know.
through the hall or something. I don't know if you really see it.
No, you really don't. I mean,
No,
it's
he
there.
gets
If
sucked
you
out
like
the
slow it
front,
down,
and then
it's
it's
there.
sort of
But
gone. But it happens in a
it's
two
just kind of
frames.
gone.
But
you
the
need it to
horrors of
linger
war would
for
have
a
been
second.
better illustrated if you'd shown his eyes
Yes.
widening in some fun way. Or something.
Exactly. Widening crystallized.
That way, Aftab hits harder too. When Aftab comes, he's like,
Yeah.
my dad died. You know, like JJ wants to. JJ is like this diehard fan, where Ryan feels like auteur coming in to play with the toys, and it's like, and it just feels like JJ's like, but Aftab though, like, let's do something fun with Aftab. Aftab is an incredible character design. He would have made more sense to enter the story if you had some Akbar stuff in.
As always true of Star Wars, we get so much more in the expanded universe in the EU with him, but it would have been a moment of just like, I never wanted a part of war, and then they killed my dad.
Oh, it would have hit so
like,
hard.
Just a line
it
of
like
that,
a C-3PO, like I'm taking my last look at my friends. It would have been like it would have hit. I would have been like, whoa, yeah, of course, Akbar died. Yes, like we're with you, you know, and like all of that stuff could have crescendoed together.
Yeah,
Instead, it's like a bunch of people just show up for a drive-in movie, and it just feels weird.
So, you know, last week was the last episode of Core World News, and we did a little round robin. And one of the things you were like, you forced me to say something negative about Star Wars, which I really appreciate. But now you've opened the floodgates, because this is one that I wish I had come up with last week. But I saw a pull quote from Tim Rose, who played Admiral Akbar, and he was summoned from his dressing room at the end of Last Jedi. Or actually, Last Jedi, and was like, hey, can you come out? We want you to speak to the crew. And he was like, oh, I'm so touched. Like, I figured, they wanted me to say something about, playing a character in 40 years of Star Wars and like all this stuff. He gets out there and they're like, hey, can you put the helmet on and just say, it's a wrap? And he was just like heartbroken. And I'm like, that kind of encapsulates what Luke is
really.
Yeah.
Wait, this is a first-hand account.
Yeah, hey,
from
can you
Tim
just do the
Rhodes
meme
from Tim Rose?
was
Yeah,
devastated
I've
by
heard
that.
this.
Yeah,
And
it was just like,
which I have not heard. No one's refuted.
Who could
that
argue is like
story
the first
either.
meme ever? Like wow.
It's like, I get
That's
it, and it's
crazy.
funny, but I'm like, oh, the poor guy. I mean, like, oh well, yeah, everyone on the crew thinks they're so important. There's 100.
Wait, and then that's truly disheartening to me, because I'm a guy who's I had some trouble enjoying The Last Jedi, but I love its messages and I praise the film for just a lot of what it does.
Not for any of the problematic.
I really
reasons.
only have problems with sort of the Luke Kylo backstory and just sort of the setup of a lot of stuff. I almost think it does more homage to cinema than Star Wars. That's kind of where I rest my thesis on the film. But I feel like that's really disheartening to me, because again, the unceremonious death for the character, and then come out and say it's a wrap, but it's like, the character's given short shrift. Like, that is bizarre.
It's hard for me to believe that everyone in Lucasfilm just miscalculated how beloved that character is. He's not just like a t-shirt.
He's coming out to say it's a wrap. Is that not ironic that he's possibly the most beloved voice, like one of the most beloved voices and stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's like, I think they just looked at the math and realized that he has 2.5 minutes of screen time.
But it's like,
maybe
he'll always
but that's
have
the point. But
for
that's my point.
infinity in my heart.
So what? Pay attention to the fandom, right? Like I know I know it's a Family Guy meme and it's a joke and everything, and yes, it's very, very funny, and I use
Maybe
It's a
every
Trap
day.
all the time. It is
Yeah.
very funny, but it led to people wanting to know what that character's backstory was and create backstories for him.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just read The Room, and like, you don't have to give him. I'm not saying give him 15 minutes of screen time, but
Yeah, just
give him something.
I also
Kill him
do
off and
All
give him
Fighters
something.
Pull Up like quite a bit.
Oh, that's a good
Quite
one.
a bit.
All Fighters Pull Up.
It's such a good. He's just so
Yeah,
great.
every
but
line's
again,
amazing. Him
I adore
swiveling around
I
like-
think The Last Jedi is the best of the sequel trilogy films.
Yeah.
I'll disagree with John Boyega in that respect, but I feel like it's devastating that Akbar's sort of just ejected the
Cast
storyline.
aside.
This is
Yeah.
Don't worry, listeners. This is not us going into an hour diatribe of why the sequel trilogy
Yeah.
suck. Because
No,
although we may be a little more free flowing on Cantina Chronicles,
Yeah.
we still love every
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Wars thing.
Oh yeah, we only do a
So,
Star Wars podcast every week, so you can count on us for enjoying all Star Wars.
And if you're not a super fan of the sequels, there's an old proverb that says, just wait. You know, it's one of those things in like 10 years
Yeah.
you may look at it through a different
See,
lens
well,
and see what you like.
Well, we can extrapolate. I can't wait to get to the final book of the Zahn trilogy because the Last Command, the First
Yes.
Order,
It's
like
Dark
I
Force
feel like it
Rising,
could just
the
be
Dark First Order, and then the
retooled to
Last
sort of better, I guess, elevate the sequel films and sort of like
Yeah.
use that terminology in a fun way that elevates them. And you're like, oh, cool, the First Order has its origins a little bit more fleshed out. And
Yeah.
Because it's
I
dying. for
get
that.
Snoke. I get Snoke a little more now. So the whole thing is like if you can build up the cloning program and build up Snoke a lot more, those sequel films are just going to get better. So
Right.
they're
That's
just
the
going to
thing.
keep pounding that out. That's why we're sitting here. I know a lot of fans want to move, but we need to sit here because we need to pound out a lot of clone work to make sure the sequels sing.
Yeah.
And I'm with that. I think that's smart.
Can you imagine a scene with all the like a bunch of proto-fascists that think they've got like the galaxy on watch, and then like Snoke lurches out of a back room somewhere and is like, "You're all mine now," you know, in some like dashing robe.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I mean, it'll be insane. You could, it's like revealing the monster slow and like him coming out. Like that would be a really, really powerful scene.
Well, the whole thing of this Tantus. Okay, we can't get there. We got to get to the Last Command. We should save a lot of this for the
That's
Last
the thing.
Command.
I wonder if
'cause
like we should have just swallowed all three of these books whole and then talked, because I have no frame of reference for the next two books. So,
But I think that's why that's fun, right? Like I think it's fun, kind of like
It is
watching
fun.
Ben think about what may or may not be coming.
I know some
Because
Right.
I think you could
Yeah.
replace Luke with someone whose name sounds awfully similar.
Snoke.
And it could be great. And it'd be
Snoke.
great if Snoke. It would be great if I got the thing I've always wanted, which was the reason I had trouble
I
loving the
feel
sequel trilogy
dumb.
is there wasn't. I think a battle of wits among the sage characters, like
Yeah.
your Luke, your Snokes, and I thought, oh, why is Snoke so deformed, and why is he looked like heavily injured? And I would love if maybe Luke and Snoke had a previous encounter in which you get that battle of the wits among the sages, and I would love if it's sort of the replacement for Luke. honestly.
So that's what you guys are saying
Absolutely.
right now, where like Snoke will be Luke in canon.
That is what Grant is saying, and
I
Grant
like
makes
that.
me feel like the dumbest person ever, because I've been talking about Luke is my go-to joke answer all the time. Mostly because I just love that
It's
for
so
some reason.
ridiculous.
Clones,
They get an extra
clones, and
vowel?
Timothy Zahns have an extra vowel. I don't know why. It makes me laugh. Even though it's done well in the book when you get to it, it's not campy, but it's just dumb that it's called Luke. But like the second you said Snoke, that they're probably doing this or some version of this, and it never even occurred to me that they're going to do that. And 100%, they're gonna do exactly what you said, Grant. It's gonna be a strand cast of half Palpatine, half Luke, and you get
I mean, Snoke.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Uh,
have
yeah.
there is a precedent. So we did see in a comic book Luke's severed hand from Empire Strikes Back in a vat on Exegol.
Is it too little,
So-
too late, though? That's all I'm saying. I want to just put up some sort of critical awareness here. Is this a little too late? Because you'd think in a kind of kabuki Shakespeare, trilogy, a saga film, you'd think that you'd have those reflection pool moments with this sort of huge story material. There's massive stuff that would have destroyed me in the theater. I would have been annihilated just to learn these reveals. These reveals would have rivaled "I Am Your Father" reveal. These sort of things, I think, have huge weight to them. That if you kind of trickle it out after the fact, I don't know. I know it will enhance the sequels. It will be like, oh, Snoke was always an old, dirty Luke clone. Like, great. Like the sequels sing now. Like they work so much better for me. I don't know. As a fan, I would have liked that reflection pool stuff in the films, and that's just kind of where 100%. I sit. But
let me play devil's advocate a little bit on that, because I agree. It is too late, but it's not necessarily too little, because as a person who did not love the prequel trilogy when it first came out, a lot of my reclamation of it and coming to love it was through the EU, was through all the stories that surrounded
like the Clone Wars,
the prequel trilogy, the Clone War cartoon, a lot of the books surrounding it that kind of built it out. And now I go back and I feel like, oh, these are just 3 stories in this larger world, right? That makes me really like the prequel trilogies, and give it more weight. And so, do I think it's gonna do I wish? Okay, why am I gonna do this? Like, why am I gonna say do I? Yes,
do it.
I wish.
Do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not anything controversial. I wish they had a plan going into the sequel trilogy. I wish they had, I don't know, an outline. Would have been nice, right? Where at least we'd have some of this. But
we had a slate, and we had.
I still question that, Ben. Based on the movies we got,
many years
and I also
maneuver,
love those movies.
The slate has to hit.
I think I'm always willing to give Lucasfilm the benefit of the doubt, and I just because I respect them and you guys so much, because you all know so much more about movies than I do in filmmaking. I just record sound, but they. So I'm like, you can't do everything for everyone, even though you guys bring up great points that keep me up at night. Where I'm like, they could have done that, and I'm sure they could have, and they didn't.
No, and I don't want to do that either. Like, that's not what this podcast is for. It's just reading these books, looking at what transpired. These questions start to form in your mind, and this is our place to get it out and just talk about it. And I feel like
I love the question.
It's fun to talk about this stuff because it's like, is this where it's all going, or can they, again, subvert us one more tier in a really fun way that sort of is like, doesn't give us, but I think I need the goods in regard to Snoke, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind an extra layer of thought even after this sort of conversation we're having. Yeah. So I think it's important to have.
They're having that conversation, man. I think they're probably having it a lot. And first of all, I just love the question. Like, it's a really good philosophical question. Yeah. And I think the answer is it's different for everybody. For my dumb mind, I just know. Like, I just forget, dude. I forget. Once I know all this stuff, it's in my brain, and there it is. And it's like, when the prequels happened, I adored the prequels as they were happening, but when Anakin turned, it made my head spin because it happened so fast. And
dude, you were not alone. Well, at the same time, it's so telegraphed, and you know it. Obviously, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, but still.
But I think just the execution
you just fell to your knees and killed a bunch of kids and your wife. Like,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very slippery and very steep slope that he fell down. But the point is that, like, since the Clone Wars was amazing, and everything that came out of that, the Clone Wars were the ones that pointed me back to Attack of the Clones and was like, no. He turned long before that moment, and he had been really dark side since the.
So you're saying the compressed story? So Star Wars has a history of creating backstory for its compressed story beats in its main saga films in the form of either animated work or now live action Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, and it may be intentional. Like, they may have thought about it.
They have a history of doing it. It's actually great. Yeah. If that's how they've modeled things in the past. If the Clone Wars. I don't know why I called it the Clone Wars. I don't know why I did that, but
what,
Clone
the
Wars
accent on the last word?
widely celebrated,
Wars?
and it worked ultimately to backfill.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just, that formula works? Let's keep going with the backfill formula.
I mean, and it was all George, right? And he did the Clone Wars as well. So
Yeah.
he might have fully known that he was going to do the Clone Wars and was like, I'll backfill it, and it's going to be great material fodder. We can slow play his turn and, over the course of that whole animated series. And I think, Kathy Kennedy might have done the same thing with Snoke. There might have been that conversation. They're like, you know what, save it, because they've got books, they've got comics, they've got live action.
Also, isn't that a huge? What's going to get you more Disney Plus, signups than a Snoke Luke confrontation, right? That's like the biggest thing I can think of in terms of like getting people.
That could be an anchor point for a whole series. Right?
Yep.
Huge, like a massive. Like you have to see the finale of X series because. We get Snoke's like kind of first appearance and his first utterings to Luke. Like that would be worth the sign up.
It's very true. I mean, I two things is I love the fact that Lucasfilm in all of its incarnations, whether it's oldeu or new, will not give up on its properties. Meaning that they may see the negative press, they may see negative people on the internet, but they're like, this is the canon now. This is what we created. We are going with it. They don't try to retcon all that much. They just try to fill it out. And kind of leading to my second point, I always laughed. My old joke would be like, don't worry, we'll fix it in post, right? That's the old kind of funny adage of this. And I feel like Lucasfilm was like, don't worry, we'll fix it in EU. Right. Like, and which is not a bad, but not a bad mentality, right? Because if you if this ends up leading into Snoke being a strand cast of like Luke and the Emperor, right? Think about what that says about the sequel trilogy then, right? Like that this strand cast of these two houses then corrupts the nephew of Skywalker, right? Like it makes it richer, right? Like it tells that story without having to do it on the screen. Could they have done it on the screen? Probably, but without having done that, this at least gives it more gravitas. So when I'm watching episodes 7 and 8, that's fascinating, right? Like that's in the mind. Yeah.
I just thought I do stand by my reasoning that I think the second movie of a new sequel trilogy could have had the Snoke and Luke are secretly closely tethered as a massive deal, as a sort of I am your father type thing, which is like, we'll get in that slowly. But it's like I'm fine with that too. That's cool. Like I just don't know if it hits as hard as sort of like those rug pull reveals that you expect out of the saga films, basically. Yeah. But again, I'll take 20 subversions, I guess. That's fun too. So, but
that sounds very grudgingly, but I just let that go. I'll take that too. Fine.
You guys, I love everything Star Wars.
I know you
just like to talk about it.
You do. You like to deep analyze. You like to critique. And as I will always talk to my students about critiquing, critiquing does not mean
you guys do not want to hear what I have to say about Rise of Skywalker. Don't worry about it. We will save that.
I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah.
But I love all of it. Like I think like for everything we're talking about in terms of Snoke, I think Snoke is the one character where you get a lot of people who have real thoughts about it, and some of them are extremely critical, whatever. Snoke's the major villain of the sequel trilogy, right? Like that's our main antagonist. So people are going to have hot takes
a little bit.
It's fine. Well, I think people are okay. It's not just you're dabbling in the dark side like Quinlan Vos. You'll be all right. You can get out. But no, I love talking about this stuff. I think just Snoke is such a fun character, and I think that George Sabaoth and all this cloning that's happening is I think that could be something that Dave Filoni looks at and uses. Basically.
Do you think the we hopped on with Grogu and the Mandalorian crowd is going to be able to latch on to the Ahsoka stuff the same way and be excited about it as we are, that are like hardcores that are like soaking ourselves in Star Wars all the time?
We have what I call not what I call, but what we call in the social sciences a natural experiment that's about to happen. And that is my wife knows nothing of Ahsoka, to the point where I was talking about it like last week and she goes, "Oh, because we watched the trailer." And she said when she says the line about like my master Anakin, right? And she goes, "What?" Like so she literally had no
Yeah.
idea that Ahsoka Tano was Anakin's Padawan. She's like, how is that possible? He wasn't a knight. And I'm like, well, technically. So we had to go through the whole thing. But like so she's not watching Rebels. I told her she could. She goes, no, and I'm kind of like, don't, because
Yeah.
I want to do an experiment. I want to see how this show lands for a person who knows nothing about the Clone Wars or Rebels.
Yeah.
Right? So we shall see.
Maybe we'll
Yeah.
get Carly on here then.
Yeah,
That'd be kinda fun.
she'd be more than happy to come in and
That's
talk about
actually
it.
so great to hear, because I think that's one of the most compelling parts of Ahsoka's story is that she's Anakin's
Yeah, agreed.
last apprentice Padawan, and it's just, I love that stuff. I think that's so cool that, like, you know, if you're not a huge Star Wars fan, you're just hearing about this now, and you're like, whoa, that's cool.
She was
she's
intrigued
actually
by it, for
connected to
sure.
Darth Vader.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Like,
It's hard
oh,
to
that means she's tinged with the dark side. She's tinged with this understanding of this dark truth. Instantly compelling character,
Yeah.
like jumping in. I hope a lot of people jump on to Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's wild but like Ahsoka turned out way more like Qui-Gon Jinn than she did like her own master. Like in the beginning of Clone Wars, it's like
Yeah.
she does pick up some of Anakin's bad habits, but
Yep.
then by the end she's evolved past her master. And
Yeah.
it's like and she really understands the Force in a lot more fundamental way than Anakin does. And it's really pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of what makes her character unique and why she's so compelling. But I still, in my brain, when the few times that Ahsoka confronts Darth Vader, like I saw in Rebels recently,
Yeah.
it's hard to reconcile those two characters have that long-term bond. And and because like Ahsoka's character is so rich and fleshed out, and obviously Anakin is as well. And then to like just have them come together and be like, oh my gosh, like
this is what you became,
wild,
and now I also gonna kill you. Like it is horrible, and you know, a similar idea of a kind of like pulling us all together is that I keep wanting to say that scene in Mandalorian, but no, that scene in Boba Fett of all places, where we have that moment of Ahsoka and Luke interacting. Every time I've watched that, and I need to before Ahsoka, I'm just gonna go back and watch that episode, obviously, but I just need to watch it and get out of my head about the fact that this is a CGI Luke, because the person in me always has really hard time when I see that CGI stuff. It's like a magic trick, right? I'm sitting there looking for the seams. I'm looking for it. I'm going, that's really amazing. It looks really good. And I just need to live in it. I need to just sit there and like meditate for like a half an hour before I watch it and be like, that is Luke. That is Luke. That's gonna be my mantra. Like, that is Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Just so I can watch it and not think about it. Because like what I keep missing from that scene, and not at any fault of the director, but my own fault, is that like that is his father's apprentice who spent more time with his father, learning from his father, talking to him. Like that scene is wild when you think about what it means for characters. And I need more Ahsoka and Luke time.
Yes.
Like that's amazing. That idea that he knows his father through his apprentice, right? He gets to know who Anakin was through his apprentice.
That is such
beautiful.
a meaty episode too.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Grogu training episode?
Yeah,
You get
yeah.
Master
That
Luke.
is my single favorite. Okay, episode 2 of The Mandalorian is well known to be, I think, a favorite among
Agreed.
all three
Yep,
of us.
same. Yep.
That episode, I think the Grogu training episode is a close second for me. Like I adore that episode, and I know it's hard to look at Luke.
He's talking about
for as
Yoda
long
as
you
well.
have to, because he's on screen for a lot. Like that's a glorified Luke episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
a Luke episode. I mean, the choose the ball and join your mother in death, or choose the sword and join me. Like,
Right, it's Shogun Assassin.
yeah, with the chainmail, like that is such an iconic scene. Like so much of that.
cool.
I mean, the talking about Yoda and like how does Luke? Yeah, it's a Luke episode. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I think it's just great, and I think it's wonderful development for Luke. He's super zen. It's the Return of the Jedi Luke, the sort of zen Luke that we sort of lost, but we know was there for a number of years, and it's fun to see that. And he's wearing like a black kimono. It's like different from
it's
his
a little
like
different.
sci-fi attire in Return of the Jedi. It's just like a straight up black kimono, and I was like, is this the coolest? Like, where is
this the
this
coolest Luke?
Black Series figure? Like, where is this? Like, is this
know.
the coolest Luke I've ever seen?
Yeah.
And then, Yeah, I love that. The bamboo forest is so beautiful on that planet. That is the planet where he's building the robots are actually, again, we're talking about reinforcing sort of the canon, and you see the robots building the droids building the first temple, and I only call them robots because they look like
They do.
Boston.
They're droids.
Yeah.
They're always
Yeah.
droids.
They're-
Dog bots, but it's
I
like,
know. They look very real world.
I help.
Yeah.
I do that by everything in my life. I call droids. So there's like the
there you go.
microwave droid and the toaster droid, and like they're all
great.
droids.
You won't
Refrigeration droid. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and they're carrying just they're building just like the scaffolding. It's so
That is a
cool.
cool
Like
scene.
and Ahsoka's just hanging, like Ahsoka's just chilling.
Dude,
Just there. Yeah.
Dude, the acting with I mean, I know it's not our guy, but with the Mandalorian there, he's like, is that for me? They like build him a bench, and he's like, ugh, he just sits on the bench.
Oh yeah, that's great.
He's like, what is going on? He's trying to talk, and he hates droids, and he's just surrounded by droids. It's just like the most antagonistic time.
Will there be a comic that's like those are Jedi temple builder droids that like Luke found or something? Yeah, I don't know. It's so cool.
With comics, the answer for me is always probably.
There will be some explanation.
There will be
It'd
something.
like,
some
if
point.
like someone had a colored
temple will be built
fingernail,
in the same droid.
they'll explain it in the comics. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, that episode, I really love that episode. There's a great score in that episode. There's a lot going on there that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
I think Grogu learns how to flip.
Yeah, I think that's
Right.
episode for Grogu. This is episode 6 of Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, it's a Book of Boba Fett. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, sorry about that.
Yep.
I got
No.
Wow, I really
Right.
framed it as a Mando episode. I feel awful.
Right, because
Okay.
5 is the my favorite episode, which is the lore Darksaber training episode, and it's just pure Mando episode. And then I think 6 is that one, and then 7 is the finale.
So
Okay,
seven's
that's my
finale.
favorite episode
So
of
5
Mando.
is the Return of the Mandalorian.
Yeah. So that's like all the Mando, like Mando on a bus.
Yeah, and then 6 is
Could you argue that's one of the greatest live action crossovers, though? Like just the idea that Mando quickly set up in his own live action series and then crosses over in a new characters or another characters series. It's
I don't know
I'd
why
love
it
to do a
happened.
top
I'm
5
just
crossover.
glad it did. I'm telling you, man. Just bang out Book of Boba Fett again, all in a row, just like boop 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 boop, and you'll be like, oh, that's a pretty good series. It's a pretty good series.
Okay.
No, I will.
I'll watch
I will.
6 and 7 again.
I'm telling you, you'll be on episode 4 before you even know it, and then you'll be like, oh, episode 5, and then it just launches.
No, I really do like. We're on a podcast.
I like a lot about it.
Sometimes critique the material. We love everything.
Yeah.
I watched
it's
every episode of Book of Boba Fett every week. I hang on every line. I'm excited about everything that Lucasfilm puts out. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. Book of Boba Fett just didn't. I don't know. It didn't.
No.
Didn't hit on all cylinders for me in a lot of ways. And again, I have my own revisionist takes on things, so it's awful for me. I'm just the worst fan in that regard. Where I'm like, why isn't he on Nel Hutta or Nar Shaddaa, fighting in a gladiatorial thing and in a cool exotic forest or something? I have a really bad problem as a fan, kind of having headcanon that permeates too strong.
I respect that, and I understand it in a different way. It's like I make music, I mix music, I listen to sound, I do all that stuff, and it's my wife loves Taylor Swift, and and Harry Styles.
Who doesn't?
Well, me, but
I'm
I guess
agnostic at best.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's sort of yes, this is Taylor Swift makes music that's life changing for most people. It's the most popular music perhaps ever. Certainly in this thing, people are going crazy. She has her own economy now. But it's just when I listen to music, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, that was a choice. On some sort of things.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can't.
I do that probably every 10 seconds when I watch a Star Wars.
And you
thing.
do the same thing with film. You just you're like, okay, you went that route instead of that route. It's well, maybe it would have been more fun the other way. I don't know.
Yeah, and I have a lot of thoughts on Oppenheimer, so I would love for this podcast to go 1 hour longer to talk about
Oppenheimer.
just
that we can
just the areas of focus in that.
All right.
right.
Not there. We're gonna see it next week, so we get great. I can talk next week.
All right, I'm gonna
Let's keep it
I'm
going.
gonna try something right now. Pretend we just hung up, and we're not going to talk about Oppenheimer, but what are we going to talk about right now? Because I feel like this has been a good conversation, but this whole Cantina Chronicles, it's like I want to catch some of that like freewheel and spirit that we seem to always catch when we're not recording. That's my goal for Cantina Chronicles to become. It's just like it, and I think we've done that. We've just meandered through every single live action series in an hour,
right?
As well as most of Heir to the Empire, but anything else? Any other Heir to the Empire comments or something that we got? I mean, the tactics are amazing. The planets are amazing there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, it's not really necessarily hanging up, but like we haven't talked Pelion at all because like Ben, you had a different reaction to Pelion than I did, which is like in the book, he's Watson, right? He is Watson the Sherlock.
Okay.
Which is just like, oh, explain to me how you solve this puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Which always makes Watson feel like a dupe.
Yeah, so I get that because you were like, oh, wait about for Pelion, but for me, it's like,
yeah,
for every one of Zahn's novels, and he's unapologetic about it, he needs a foil. Like Thrawn always needs a foil so he can explain his.
He can explain.
You're right. Yep. It's Sherlock.
It's Watson.
He's Sherlock, and he just like rotates through Watsons. It's Eli Vanto. It's like I can't name them all.
Right. Oh, Vanto. That's the one from the new.
That was from the first trilogy. I think was Eli Vanto.
Right. Oh yeah, because he's the one like he's there when he goes through the academy with him.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was like the prequel Thrawn arriving in the Empire.
I was excited to see Pelion because like I forgot like again he's another character who follows all the way through.
Yeah.
The new EU because like again spoiler alert for like a dead thing, but he becomes the leader of the galactic or the I can't remember what they refer to it as, but it's basically the Empire who actually it's just like, but they play nice with the Republic. They're basically like we have our own little piece of space and eventually end up joining the Republic again. Like having to do this because of the Yuzan Vong War. Less said about that, the better. Yeah. But they do lead to really interesting things where Pelion is like actually a good person and becomes like the moral center of this newly formed empire. It's really fascinating because he takes all those elements from Thrawn, who's just like
the good parts,
thoughtful and tactical and knowing about like human interactions and how do we like have an empire with that. Yeah.
That's what's so tough about Thrawn as being a black hat like villain because he's the most culturally sensitive character in Star Wars, like the most culturally empathetic and like you know he's like he looks at all their art, studies their like whole things, and it's like I mean I guess that's true villainy if you're like I totally understand this beautiful species and now I'm going to destroy them. But it's wild.
And that's what I love about Thrawn as a character is like he like how again to go back to like how Zahn like think about what he had to do, right? He had to come up with a threat that wasn't just another Force user and like another like let's bring back the Emperor again. No shade to Episode 9, but like it's like had to come up with something completely new, and it's just like, well, he has no Force ability, so what is he? He's just a tactical genius, right? And can outthink a Jedi. It's just kind of amazing. Like it's a really thoughtful way to create a villain, and I hope we see that in Ahsoka and other stuff. Is like we really get this. Like he is a threat. He's a real threat because he's a genius.
Yeah, I love the payoff of that for Pelion too, because it makes sense that Thrawn in all of his teachings sort of disrupts Imperial procedure in Pelion's mind, and that he's just like, hey, if you deal with people like this, it works out far better. And Pelion taking those teachings and then becoming a morally upstanding character later on. That's so interesting because then there's a payoff for Thrawn's teachings. Yeah, I hope that happens in whatever storyline that takes place.
I have an off-air question, which isn't going to be that controversial, but like
off-air.
Yeah, in terms of like in terms of like if we were having an off-air conversation of Grant, so what do you think about battle meditation? Because we are teasing with the idea of battle meditation in this. Like Thrawn figures out the idea of battle meditation.
I've always been a fan of battle meditation.
Yeah.
I think battle meditation is like the great missing component. I think a lot of 90s authors and just uber nerds at BioWare and just your best sort of Star Wars fanatics we're kind of like, hey, how do we ratchet up the stakes of huge scale space combat?
Yeah.
Battle meditation.
It's basically like I just
it's like the coolest thing ever. I was like,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
coolest thing. Every time I see it, here's my off-air comment. Every
and
time I see
debatably,
it,
is Palpatine doing it in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Is it
according to this
debatable
book,
in
yes.
that moment
according
that he
to
is
this
doing
book,
battle?
that is what Thrawn, because Thrawn determines that they were 20-something% more efficient for no unknowable reason. Because I love that Thrawn has like a statistic for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Right.
every time I read Battle Meditation, which I think is like a great game mechanic, but it always reads to me like, oh, they got a buff. They got like a like
Yeah.
It's a buff.
it's a buff.
And they
It's a
show
buff.
Sabath
Damn
doing
it
it in
increase.
here, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, that was a new one for me. But
Yeah,
it,
he gets
it,
all, like-
it makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
the Empire did crumple after the Emperor died, like, or at least on Endor, like they just like
Yeah.
the whole like they were outgunned. And and like yes, the Death Star 2 exploded, but it was like they still were outgunned, and they still won the battle. Like wild.
So, Ben, we also learned that marajade is in Jabba's palace.
Didn't yeah
Right.
that I'm like, well, so my headcanon, because I'm always trying to like assist Lucasfilm. I'm like, well, she was a backup dancer because like we know from canon there was a dancer before Leia, and it was a Twi'lek dancer, and she gets eaten by whatever, and then and like also I mean I guess maybe she was in Jedi Rocks. Is Mara
So this is what I'm
Jade in
asking you.
Jedi Rocks?
So what I'm asking you is,
But who
next
is
time
scrupulously looking through the background to be like,
I know.
"Where
Next time you watch,
You're
are you going to
fine.
go?
It's all right.
I
No,
100% Ben
that's not a big
to
deal.
turn this off and go and watch, not just watch that scene, but watch all of Return of the Jedi, but specifically watch the beginning and try to see if you can figure out which one would have been Mara Jade.
Okay, I've got homework. I'm going to do that tonight because I needed a project.
You're welcome.
So a lot of times when I'm watching Star Wars now, and even actually when I'm watching it for the first time, I'm never looking at the main character. I'm always looking at the back.
Yeah.
Because I can't help
nowadays.
myself. I'm like, oh, I know there's nuggets back there somewhere that are like cool Easter eggs and like all that. But like now I have to go find her. But I'm imagining her in like one of those like booths. It was like, oh, she was just there as backup, or maybe there's like some sort of like pen or like room specifically for the dancers when they're off hours or something. Yeah, because dancers could mean like I just assumed it was like the girl chained to his like throne, to Jabba's throne, but it could mean like clearly he has full blown bands with choreographed dance routines. So maybe she was one of those like pedestal dancers or something like that.
I was Googling to see if anyone like has said this is Mara Jade or like could do it. And I just found something very upsetting.
Oh no.
Which I never knew.
Yeah, you're probably going to see a bunch of stuff you don't want to see if you're like...
You're Googling Mara Jade right now? Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It's Terrace Kasi. It's that game.
Oh, yeah. No, I just discovered... Because someone's like, someone I never knew was in Return of the Jedi. Dengar's in Return of the Jedi?
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. I'm very upset.
He was just like
He's
hanging out?
He's hanging in there when they're moving.
Just taking dirt naps in the corner.
Yeah, kind of. Like when they're after Han is out, and when they're moving Han and Chewie and everyone away in shackles, he's on like the right side of the screen. There's Dengar and all his Dengarness.
Just Dengaring around.
Dengaring it up.
Being grimy.
It's amazing.
Oh boy. That takes a point off.
Is that when they surprise Leia and they all come out of the background? Is he there?
No, it looks like it's directly after that scene when they've like shackled them.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh, fascinating.
When they
Or
come
maybe
back
when
out,
they're-
how are we doing?
Yeah,
Same as always.
I think,
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay,
before
cool.
exactly before.
Very
they
cool.
load
The
them up.
things you learn on this podcast.
What do we think about the fact that the only reason Mara Jade wasn't able to kill Luke Skywalker is because, like, her work rotation got changed?
Yeah. That's the thing. You're deep undercover,
Yeah.
Is that what
shift
happened?
change.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. She was going to be on the sail barge, and then someone told her, "No, you can't because of I can't remember why because of X, Y, and Z." And that's the only reason.
Yeah, it was administrative.
Is that battle meditation from Luke? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how the Force
baby.
explains everything.
That's 100% the Force.
Do we love the concept of an emperor's hand? Is that not like one of the
I
most
do.
fun
Yeah.
concepts? I love that.
Yeah.
idea.
It makes sense.
I mean,
it makes sense even like now with the Inquisitorius. It's like, well, all right, you have that.
It
but
makes
it's like,
yeah.
He's Emperor is surrounded by so many rubes, and we know Sly Moore was Force sensitive as well, and so she was there. But she's not Mara Jade, obviously. So I love that idea.
And I don't have, and like I also I'm reading Dark Forces Rising now, so in anticipation for our next pod. But I would love more Mara Thrawn, like almost storyline. Like it's almost like as much as I talk about the other trilogies and the prequels and the sequels, it's like from this trilogy, I almost think like there's something fun you could do with Mara and Thrawn. In a way that if Vader was called the Emperor's Fist for a number of years, and Mara's if we're talking about new canon, how they're going to recanonize some of this material, and you think, and we've heard this new canon nickname for Vader, the Emperor's Fist, and she's the Emperor Hand in this old. That just begs the question: was she a little bit more tactful than Vader? Was she
the Iron Fist
a little
and
bit
the
more
Velvet
undercover,
Glove.
a little bit more of a secret spy?
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
but they couldn't call her the
does
Velvet
that
Glove
not
'cause
play
that'd be
hand in hand with Thrawn in a really fun way? Is there something? Is there something? And I know Zahn does do some intermingling of the characters, but it's so cool. It's so compelling that there's two very tactful characters in this storyline, and I think Mara is just as tactful. It's Thrawn,
totally,
except plagued by the dark visions to kill Luke, like the hatred of Luke for sort of ruining her position. Like that stuff is so interesting as well. So there's a lot there that I almost wish, like, if she's a little unclouded by Luke, is there more with Mara and Thrawn?
Right? Because
Did they ever meet? I don't know if I want you to tell me this. Mara and Thrawn.
I don't remember. I'm reading Dark
Forces
Rises.
Yeah,
that's good enough for me because it doesn't
get there.
I feel like he would be like, "Oh, you are my favorite tool now." He would just be like, he would have a.
She would be like, "You're a pretender to the throne," right? Like that's what I feel like her reaction would be. And I just feel like, there's got to be an Emperor's Hand in new canon. We just haven't encountered that yet, whether it's Mara or not. Like that is such an interesting idea. Who would not want to play around with that? It doesn't affect canon at all. Like if you're doing the Inquisitorius and all that stuff, there's plenty of room to have the Emperor to have people out there.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, there's
the Inquisitorius set that up in one way.
So we know
the Emperor's got plots.
We know from Ahsoka that we have a male Dark Jedi and a female Dark Jedi. I forget their names. But I mean, if we're saying
whatever their fake names are,
it
doesn't matter.
We'll go there. Adam and I are ready to talk about that full on for the next 3 hours. But no,
but I mean, like, could that female Dark Jedi be Marajade, like, or with a different name?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Adam. Adam, take it.
I think she is the Emperor's Hand. Whether or not they actually like call her Marajade, I think she's going to be the Emperor's Hand. The other thing I wanted to ask, not to get away from this, is like, are we missing Talon Card or a Talon Card like character from Star Wars movies, TV, or whatever?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of like
you can't have enough scoundrels. I mean, there's just not enough, and they're all like so one-dimensional. Other than Lando and Han, it's like Talon Card is great, and his minions are great too, like Chen and like all those other Amos, I think, or Ames or whatever.
He feels like a Luthen Rail like prototype almost.
Yeah.
Like he's very
calculating and smart
and calculating. Yeah.
And it's like, not just like some dumb foil, like, I think it'd be great. I mean, there's so much more you can do in a novel than you can on live action, because you can really flesh out the characters and give this, scoundrel this, like, all these great lines and really like make him a defined character. So maybe that's a limiting factor. They just don't have enough time, but like, I mean, it would be great to have a Talon Card character. Maybe, maybe we'll see something like that in Ahsoka. This book's got me really excited for Ahsoka heretofore in this dead space, post the Mandoverse or in the Mandoverse.
Like, what would be like in alignment systems? If we're doing like the old school D&D 9-grid alignment system, what is Talon Card? Is he like is he chaotic neutral?
Yeah, that's
chaotic good even? Like he has a moral code, which I appreciate. Yeah.
I'd say chaotic neutral.
Yeah. Which I think
I would even lean in the evil category as well.
Yeah,
I think some things he does are pretty, like, doesn't he? I read the book like 6 months ago, but I think he is like against Luke and against
He's holding
Mara's
Luke.
connection to Luke and against all that stuff. He's basically like that piece that's like, I'll use any means necessary to get what I want. But it's if that
He is and he
Mara and
isn't.
I work together closely. But if she's getting lost in this
Yeah.
target, we're screwed or whatever. Like there was art of that I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's
I think
aligned
just-
himself with the Empire, right? Like that's his primary business partner. And
That's why I'd say evil. I would say
He
chaotic.
is, but he's not immediately turning Luke over
right.
to the Empire. And in that book, it seems like he's searching for a reason not to give him to the Empire,
Yeah.
right? He's looking for every excuse not to do it,
Yeah.
and eventually finds it. But at the same time, he could just tell Han, like, there's a moment where he's like, that information's not for sale. That scene I love, where he's like, sir, every information has price, and Han would ask questions like, sorry, that information's not for sale. And I love that scene. I'm just like, yep, that who I have prisoner right now is not for sale.
Yeah.
That
You
information's
can't
not for
know
sale.
that
So cool.
information.
I
Yeah.
love how Zahn writes Han and Lando and Chewie and all those characters too. So
That was the thing. It
That
was
stuff
like
is so-
so great to. It was just like such a treat to have Zahn write the. I mean, going back to how this episode started was just. Yeah, it was just amazing to have him write the original trilogy heroes. That was so fun.
and this book ends on threats of a civil war.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
There's a threat of civil war sort of hanging over the book
yeah.
at the
Yeah.
And
end.
he did a good job leading into that, where Han's like, "We got to go back. We got to like."
Yeah.
No, we can't dally here. There's something going on, and we need to get there. And then, like, ultimately, he does dally because of like battles and all this other stuff that jumps in the way. And then, like, sure enough, like he didn't get back in time. And that's what's up.
Luke gets his X-wing fixed or something at the end.
Yeah, they can suddenly fix it in 2
Yeah.
hours. Great Wedge stuff in here too. Wedge is a pimp. I love. I mean, I really did like that they were able to sort of thwart Thrawn's like.
Wedge really gets my motivators going.
Going. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I love that the I mean, they took a hit, but like they took one on the chin, but the Republic does sort of win this book. And I was really hoping that would happen, but I wasn't sure it would because, for 3 books, I've just seen Thrawn just like crush people. But it's like what I learned from Rebels is just add Jedi and suddenly anything's possible. It's like they're lightning rods for the Force. And it's just like if you throw a Jedi into the mix, like the Rebels was really believable. Even though like they always they went into like unwinnable circumstances and always came out alive, except for that one time, but
Yep.
or that 2 times really, but like,
Stopping a wall of fire is tough.
yeah. But that was like, and he
Yeah.
knew it was coming, and the wolves told him that was happening, and he was like, I understand.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Doom.
yeah, but like they do, I don't know. I've just like you just add a Jedi, and so this follows suit with that perfect synergy. It's just like. Thrawn couldn't anticipate the power of Luke and our heroes. So, okay.
We did it.
We did it, guys.
We did it.
Heir to the Empire.
Heir in the Empire. Good times. Always fun. This was fun. Thanks very much for listening to us for this debut edition. Couple hiccups technologically, but whatever. It's fine. I just want to say thanks for listening to us here. If you're watching YouTube Live or listening to us on your favorite podcast, I hope you didn't get scared off by the new logo or anything.
Hopefully not. Still us.
Still us, but I don't know. Still having fun talking about Star Wars.
If you're sick of X and threads and you need a safe place just to hang out and listen to a fun podcast, we're here. We're always here.
We'll still be talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it for this week. We will talk to you next week on
Cantina Chronicles.